Question mark for the Minnesota Vikings this offseason is what were they going to do with free agent cornerback Patrick Peterson? The future first ballot Hall of Famer came over to the Vikings 2 years ago. Last season had quite a productive year in the Dontel defense, even though highlights were few and far between with that defense. P Squared had himself a career year as the shifted more towards zone. 9 passes broken up, career high, 5 picks, 77.3 quarterback rating when thrown at. His lowest since 2015. Was named second team All-Pro by Pro Football Focus, and overall had himself a nice season. And even though he's getting up there in age, probably made himself a little bit of money in free agency. And he was on Adam Schefter's podcast this week talking about free agency and all that stuff. Now, before Patrick Peterson had said on his podcast, All Things Covered Except for Isaiah Hodgins, that he would love to run it back with the Vikings. I would love to be there in that purple and gold again and give it a run again just because I love the community there, So he said that back in January. But this week he talked about free agency and he talked about potentially leaving. So he talked about joining the Bengals. Well, this is what Schefter wrote. Free agent quarterback Patrick Peterson wants to play on a team that gives them a chance for jewelry, which includes the Bengals. Apparently that doesn't include the Vikings. All that stuff. Also, he mentioned the Cowboys, working and mentoring with Trevon Diggs, as well as the Eagles. So, I mean, yeah, P Squared's at the point in his career. Maybe it's not all about the money. Maybe it's all about trying to win a ring. And maybe he doesn't want to be part of a teardown or rebuild here on defense, especially a defense where he succeeded in last season, even though the defense as a whole, not so much. And again, all things covered except for Isaiah Hodgins. Blah, 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 blah. But P Squared said he wanted to be back. Also, earlier this month, it had been reported by Darren Dugan-Wolfson that there had been some interest, or he'd been led to believe that Flores definitely wanted Patrick Peterson back. So now that could certainly be, hey, yeah, I wouldn't mind him back at the right price, or blah, 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 blah. But I did think that Patrick Peterson and what Brian Flores specifically likes to do with his cornerbacks, press man, being aggressive on the outside. I mean, P Squared used to be one of the best man-to-man corners in the league. He just simply is not that guy anymore. I think one of the big reasons why he had success in Dontel's scheme last year was playing a lot of zone, playing off the receivers, being able to read the receiver, being able to read the quarterback, and letting instincts kick in, sort of basically playing a safety on the outside. And that's why Peterson had some success. And specifically for what the Vikings are going to want to do with Flores' defense, didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And Peterson, his market value estimated by SpotRag is around $6.4 million per season. Now, his first year in Minnesota, 2021, he signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with $2 million in incentives. Last year was 1 year, $4 million bucks. So he probably has earned himself some freshening up of the contract and going to somewhere where he could potentially win a ring. I fully understand it. I get it. But with the Vikings, even though they're getting rid of some bad veteran contracts, it's not like they're waving the white flag and completely tanking. So, P Squared, whatever. And Patrick Peterson is getting up there in age. It is what it is. And cornerback depth-wise, I mean, maybe Kwesi is fully committed to this teardown and rebuild on the defense side of the ball, even though I just saw that they restructured Jordan Hicks. Why? But the Vikings youth movement at corner, they got Evans and Booth, 2 rookies from last season. Kalon Barnes was a 7th-round pick from last year that Kwesi picked up midseason as well. And they could stockpile the cornerback room with a lot of young depth as well as some younger value free agents. So that could be the direction that they go. So, P Squared, I think he's just talking honestly, and it is what it is. Maybe he did want to return to Minnesota. Maybe Flores did have some interest in bringing him back. But maybe, Kwesi is basically saying, hey, we're getting younger, we're getting faster, we're getting cheaper. And Patrick Peterson, even though we love you, last 2 years were fantastic. We love how you mentored these young cornerbacks. We're moving on. And that could be the spot where they're at right now. So is what it is. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Patrick Peterson talks about free agency spots. Didn't mention the Vikings. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.